Ahoy and welcome to this Narrowboat adventure. Today's video is specially for Kristy Nel and we are tackling the address problem. So I often get asked about this, but I had a very in-depth question from Kristy that I'd like to answer today. So the problem with not having an address as a continuous cruiser is a big one. I mean a really big one. And there's loads of different issues that it covers, and I think that the issues it actually is an issue for, often people don't realise those are the things that are a problem. Voting is a big issue because you're forced to either register as a homeless person to be able to vote or register at somebody else's address. This can obviously provide issues with things like needing to pay council tax at that address and things of that nature. I think that you would be fine using a friend's address or a PO box in lots of circumstances. So as I was specifically asked whether or not voting is a bad idea for people who don't have a home or family to fall back on, I completely think that's not a problem. If you don't have a family, if you don't have a home to fall back on, that's fine. Really, you just need either a PO box or a friend who will not mind you using their address for certain paperwork things. Registering for a GP can be a problem. Obviously, especially with older people on boats, that can be a massive issue if you need to be able to see the GP quite regularly. And I would imagine with things where you have a particular illness that needs ongoing care, such as diabetes, it's better to be speaking to the same person who knows you and knows all your history rather than seeing someone new every single time. So for me, I would use things like walk-in centres, and I'm still registered with the GP that I was when I previously lived on land. But I also know that GPs should be able to register you without an address, and sometimes it's just a matter of putting you in the system originally as a temporary patient and then moving you over to being a permanent patient, or some GPs will register you as the address of the GP for work. So recently I've just been applying for new jobs, and I have found that that has been actually quite a weird thing for most of the employers I've been speaking to. So I'll use my parents' address for the address of for paperwork and for tax and things like that. But then, of course, if your address that you use for that is in a different place to where you generally have your boat, it's quite an annoying discussion to have to go through with every single new employer. I've had several people in interviews who really couldn't get their head about it. Well, where exactly would you be based? And you kind of say, well, between this place and this place. And they just can't quite get their head around it. And you try and explain that you'll always be able to cycle or get the public transport or find some way of getting to where you need to be, and really it doesn't need to be their concern because you've applied to their job because you're happy to get to that place. But for a lot of employers that's just not good enough. I luckily did manage to find two very nice jobs. Online shopping, obviously online shopping isn't going to be something you can really do living on a boat unless you have it delivered to work or a friend's house, which are both very viable options. Bank accounts, of course, if you want to open a bank account, like I say, you just need some kind of address that you can give them as your address in lieu of your actual address. Vast majorities of bank accounts will be able to email you statements, so usually that isn't a problem. One of the ways in which it is a positive is telesales. Almost every telesales that you get, especially if they're trying to sell you things like gas and electricity, the conversation ends as soon as you say you haven't got an address. So even if you don't have a boat, if you think someone's trying to sell you gas or electricity, tell them you don't have an address and the problem goes away. Your driver's license, obviously, I would, if you already have a driver's license, just leave it as the address that it is, especially if you still have access to that address, such as parents, friends, blah blah blah. Tax, obviously it can be an issue, but again, you just need to have an address that you can use. So whether that be a PO box or a friend's address or a family member. And the only problem that I've actually found has completely stopped me from being able to do something with my address issue has been that I haven't been able to get insurance on my camera. I phoned them to renew and explain the situation, and because I didn't have an address where the camera would be kept, they couldn't give me insurance. So I'm looking for camera insurance. If anyone has any tips on great camera insurers for narrowboaters, then let me know. I'm also planning on speaking to the person who insures my boat to see if they can also cover that, since obviously they already deal with people with canals. I was specifically asked by Christine if your address is a problem as far as gas, water and haircuts. Haircuts, no problem at all. There are boaters that have hair salons on the canal. I've been going to the same woman for nearly 10 years, and it's always been out of my way to go and see her. I just like her, so I always go and see her. Water, you fill up yourself. That's provided by the Canal and River Trust, so obviously that's not an issue. Gas, there's loads of coal boats that come round and provide fuel, and they usually will also have gas. Otherwise you can go to a marina. You can also have Calagas deliver. They're quite happy for you to give a postcode of a nearby shop and then meet up with you and bring it down to your boat wherever you are. And they do generally deliver within 2 weeks, so that's not a problem. So that covers really the long and the short of the address problem. The only other problem without having an address is the constantly being asked, how do you deal with not having an address? How do you vote? How do you pay this? How do you do that? It's quite nice not to have post, because as you get older you realise mostly post is just bills and junk mail. I love sending post. I like sending people letters. And yeah, it's great to have family and friends and workplaces and things like that where you can use that address. So thanks very much for watching. Have a great day. If you would like to, please subscribe down below and join us again on this narrowboat adventure. And yeah, happy address hunting. Bye!